Motorcycles attract people who want power with a little bit of crazy mixed in. If you care about strong engines and strange ideas, this one is for you. Today, we are diving into engines that should not exist on two wheels, from car-sized triples to turbine screamers. We will keep it simple, tell you what each motor is, how much power it makes, why it matters, and the last one with no cylinders passes modern superbikes. Well, the first pick is a torque monster you can buy. Number 12, Triumph Rocket 3/Rocket 3 Storm. If you want to feel real street muscle, the Triumph Rocket 3 gives a thick, rolling surge that feels unreal every time we roll on from low revs. Its 2,458cc triple makes about 165 horsepower and around 163 pound-feet of torque. So the bike shoves forward with heavy, silky drive, while the tack stays low and overtakes feel smooth and controlled. For older riders, that means effortless pace, wrists relaxed, and no need to chase redline spikes, helped by ride-by-wire fueling that stays predictable, electronic aids that keep things stable, and a shaft drive that adds serenity without chain mess or adjustment. The cockpit gives natural reach, legroom, and a broad seat that feels plush enough for long distance with a simple screen. So the Rocket rides like a power tourer. The downside is plain. The weight is real in parking lots, and the fuel bill stays serious when we play, yet the trade delivers comfort and stories. If this is the modern torque king you can still buy, our next engine shrinks everything and trades pistons for a spinning triangle with a strange heartbeat. Number 11, Suzuki Re5 Rotary. The Suzuki RE5 is peak 70s future bike energy, a machine that looked modern when new and now feels strange whenever we hear it idle. Under the tank lives a 497cc rotor wonkel, liquid-cooled and rated 62 horsepower. So instead of pistons, we get a spinning triangle that moves inside a housing and turns fuel into smooth, steady thrust with a weird buzzing note. Suzuki invested serious money in this design and even offered an engine replacement warranty to calm riders who worried about apex seals and reliability on a layout they barely knew. On the road, the RE5 feels silky at cruise, yet the package is heavy, thirsty, and hot, and it never outran a four-cylinder CB or GT from the same era, which left dealers struggling to find buyers. Today, an RE5 is rare and loved by tinkerers who enjoy ODD projects and accept that parts, knowledge, and tolerance all matter more than speed. We just spent time with an engine that skipped pistons entirely. Next, we go back to hardware, but add more cylinders than most of us will want to adjust on a quiet Sunday. If you like real engine stories and not just shiny spec sheet hype, hit subscribe and ride with us, because we keep things honest, reliable, and focused on bikes you can actually own and enjoy. Number 10, Honda CBX 1047 Inline 6. Honda's CBX feels like a Grand Prix grid in a street frame, a 1047cc Inline 6 that lets us sit upright while a mechanical choir sings. 6 cylinders, 24 valves, and carbs hang in the breeze. So when we roll on, the motor spins with a high metallic wail that feels different from any four-cylinder and turns on ramps into a concert. In the late 1970s, this was superbike hardware with 105 horsepower and 140 miles per hour speed. So the CBX did not just look wild in the showroom, it carried authority on roads. The riding triangle is roomy, the seat broad, and the engine smooth enough that highway crews feel civil once we add a screen, so older backs and wrists can enjoy distance. The cost is clear. Weight and age mean valve work and carb service take patience, parts cost real money, and an example will eat restoration budget. Yet for many senior riders, this was the poster machine, and hearing one rev is deep nostalgia. If 6 cylinders already feel extreme, our next engine shrinks to half a liter and squeezes in 8. Number 9, Moto Guzzi V8 Auto Cylindry. Moto Guzzi's V8, the Auto Cylindry, is the engine that makes gearheads go silent because it packs a 499cc 4-stroke V8 into a 1950s Grand Prix chassis. 8 pistons, 8 carburetors, drum brakes, and slim tires meant riders sat behind an orchestra of parts while chasing straight speeds near 170 miles per hour on bumpy circuits with runoff. The motor weighed 45 kilograms and the bike 148, so the power-to-weight ratio was shocking for the era, and the pace ran ahead of what tires and brakes could control on tracks. Only the best pilots could use its speed without scaring themselves silly, and stories from that time talk about courage and vibration, while the V8 screamed near 12,000 RPM. For older fans, this feels like a 1950s F1 engine on 2 wheels. Mechanical bravery explains why surviving examples live in museums and lead careful lives. The downside was fragility, complexity, and cost, so the project ended, but its legend stayed strong. If this half-liter V8 feels insane, our next engine brings real chaos to the street with two-stroke cylinders. Number 8. Kawasaki H2 Mach 4 752 Stroke Triple. The Kawasaki H2 750 Mach 4 is the classic widowmaker, a street bike riders whisper about because its engine hit was savage for the era. A 748cc two-stroke triple making 74 horsepower and doing the quarter mile in 12 seconds meant strong shove in a light package with a chassis that was never ready for the rush. When the pipes came on song, the front wheel loved the sky, the rear tire moved, and the bike felt alive, exciting in a straight line, and scary if we were leaned over on a back road. Braking came from disc parts and older drums, so riders stayed alert, left space, and respected limits if they wanted to keep it pointed in the direction. For many riders, this was the bike their parents warned them about. The machine friends raced at the strip, or the legend that tried to kill somebody they knew, which gave it a reputation that carries weight. Fuel use was heavy, smoke and rides meant vibration, but fans call the engine a gem. If that old two-stroke triple sounds insane already, our next Honda motor bends rulebooks instead of frames. Enjoying these unreal engines and the straight talk, not just brochure fluff, then hit like and tap hype, because that tiny gesture keeps this channel growing and tells us riders still care about real engines. Number 7. Honda NR750 Oval Piston V4. Honda's NR750 is Honda madness, a red halo bike many riders saw once in a showroom and knew they would never ride. Under the body sits a 750cc 90-degree V4 with oval pistons, 8 valves per cylinder, and titanium parts. A layout that behaves like a tiny V8 while still meeting rules. Street versions made 125 horsepower, near 15,000 RPM, not wild by today's numbers, yet strong for the early 90s, especially with that sculpted fairing and single-sided swing arm that looked futuristic beside normal machines. For senior riders, this engine is dream material, peak old Honda energy, where engineers chase perfection and spent on complex castings, carbon panel, and machining instead of simple cuts. The catch is clear and painful. Prices sat around $50,000. Upkeep wants specialist care, and later leader bikes made more power for far less money. Even so, the NR750 stays one of the unreal road engines ever sold. And if that pretend V8, V4 feels extreme, the next motor skips pretending and drops in a real car V8 that rumbles like a storm. Number 6. Boss Haas V8. The Boss Haas V8 is what happens when someone decides subtle is useless and shoves a Chevrolet small block into a stretched cruiser frame for impact. Depending on the model, you get a 6.2-liter LS3 or larger blocks, horsepower in the mid-400s, and torque that belongs on a muscle car sheet, all through a 2-speed semi-automatic transmission that lets you surf a power wave without constant shifting. Dry weight sits close to some compact cars, so rolling from a pump feels like pushing a boat. Yet once moving, the bike settles into a stable cruise that suits long highway runs. Senior riders who grew up with V8 coupes and now ride cruisers see this as a fun bridge. The familiar rumble, big rear tire, and long wheelbase give comfort while the sound turns each stop into a crowd moment. The downsides are worth saying. The bulk is heavy at slow speed. It drops quickly when you lean on torque, and costs and insurance make this a toy more than a tool. From here, the story pivots to racing obsession, because Honda's next engine uses 5 cylinders to rule MotoGP and show glory. Number 5. Honda RC211 V MotoGP V5. Honda's RC211V is the sound of early 4-stroke MotoGP glory, a 990cc 75.5-degree V5 that shoved the last 2-stroke heroes aside. 3 cylinders in one bank and 2 in the other gave a strange pulse, not like any screaming inline 4 or smooth V4, and later engines pushed around 230 horsepower. With Valentino Rossi and Nicky Hayden, this motor helped Honda control the new era, using early electronics and bar-mounted power maps instead of deep safety nets, so throttle feel and brave risks still mattered. For senior fans, this engine sits between eras, a bridge from smoke to present traction control, proof that Honda's race shop would chase strange layouts if the stopwatch smiled. The catch is painful. None of us can own one. They live in factory collections, rules shrank capacity, and the V5 idea faded. Even so, the RC211V remains an unreal piece of track hardware, and if that engine feels distant, the next motor is a supercharged Street 4 you can register and ride to your coffee stop. If you want more real engine history and buying advice, hit subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss it. We keep this channel focused on metal, power, and long-term comfort for riders who still care and commit. Number 4. Kawasaki Ninja H2 and H2 are supercharged inline 4. Kawasaki's Ninja H2 and H2R are factory boost madness, a 998cc inline 4 with a centrifugal supercharger that turns intake noise into metal music and gives straight-line speed few cars can touch. On the street, H2 you see around 200 horsepower, while the track only H2R pushes past 300 with ram air, wrapped in fairings and aero wings that keep the front stable when boost hits. Crack the throttle and you hear the charger sing as revs climb, a mechanical whine over the 4-cylinder growl. And older riders used to air-cooled bikes feel how strong engines have become. For senior viewers, this motor is the marker for current excess, a bike with a warranty and riding aids that still has power once seen only in record books. The negatives are clear. Costs and insurance are pricey. Real roads out there rarely let you hold full throttle, and some riders find the tech clinical. Still, if the RC211 was a race glory only on television, the H2 is a street taste of boosted insanity many of us can buy. If that feels like the peak of gas bike madness, the next engine says, forget pistons and boost, just bolt in a jet turbine. Number 3. MTTY2 K-Turbine Superbike. The 𝐏𝐄𝐑𝐄𝐑 is the poster child for unreal engine choices. A hand-built machine that stuffs a Rolls-Royce Allison gas turbine into a frame so you can hear jet noises on the way to your coffee stop. The turbine makes around 320 horsepower and strong low RPM torques, and it burns diesel, kerosene, or jet, so filling up feels more like prepping a light aircraft than topping a tank. Twist the grip, and instead of an instant bark, you hear a rising whine and feel smooth thrust, no gear shifts, just a steady pull towards speed. For senior riders, this engine is bar story material, something you might see once at a show or runway. Proof that someone was crazy and skilled enough to make a helicopter heart work on 2 wheels. The downsides are obvious. Price is pricey, range is limited, the heat behind the bike is brutal, and everyday practicality is almost zero. Still, as an engineering flex, the Y2K turbine sits high on any unreal engine list. And after that excess, we slow things down with a machine that looks like a tiny steam train. If these engines are firing your brain and making you crave real machines, hit like and drop a boost so more riders who love power and character can find this. Number 2. Revatu Customs Black Pearl Steam Style Bike. The Black Pearl from Revatu Customs looks like a tiny steam locomotive, a rolling piece of industrial art that trades speed for spectacle instead of distance. You get a boiler-style body, exposed crank and connecting rods, and an old-world stance that makes kids curious and older riders silent when it creeps at walking pace. Power comes from a steam-style external combustion heart that drives the rear wheel through a visible crank, so every stroke and each puff stays out in the open instead of hiding behind modern covers. Top speed is a little more than a brisk jog, the weight is real, and there is no world where this makes sense as transport, which is why it belongs on a list of unreal motorcycle engines. It proves a bike can be mechanical theater first and travel second, a place where craftsmanship and patience matter more than lap times or range numbers. For senior riders who grew up around trains and heavy machines, this feels like a live model you can sit on. The smell of metal is strong, and the way it pulses is peaceful, like riding a moving sculpture through town. Number 1. Lightning LS 218 Electric. Now we jump to the opposite extreme, the Lightning LS 218, an electric superbike with no cylinders and speed that makes the leader bikes nervous and many riders silent. Under the fairing sits a liquid-cooled electric motor delivering strong horsepower and thick torque from a standstill, with a top speed of 218 miles per hour that earned its serious name. There is no clutch, no multi-speed gearbox, just twist-and-go savagery, a surge that feels instant and different from an inline 4 climbing through the mid-range. This platform went to Pikes Peak and beat gas bikes outright, a shock for riders who thought electric power was only for scooters and short commutes, not full race-level performance. Older riders may still love the rumble of pistons, yet this motor shows where the future is heading, with less mechanical fuss and more focus on chassis balance and charging habits. Downsides are clear, range can feel tight at highway pace, packs stay expensive, and the lack of engine sound removes some emotional texture. But as a piece of design, this remains one of the most unreal motorcycle power plants you can buy. If these engines woke up your curious side and reminded you why motorcycles still feel special, do not stop here. Click the next video and keep the ride moving with more real hardware and comparisons. Then hit subscribe and stay with us.